Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. All right. While others are joining, anyone would like to care to discuss on anything? Or should we observe the silence as if it's morning? It's not, sorry, morning, right? It's not morning. So anyone observed this High Court, Telangana High Court decision on schools reopening yesterday? No? Okay. I think it is still gloomy for most of us. So let us give 5 minutes and then let others also to join. Okay. Okay, welcome back, everyone. Good morning again. So, anything you would like to share before we enter into strategic management's first chapter? Any strategy behind observing silence?
No, sir.
I know. Yeah, occasionally it happens. All right. Any interesting things you observed around the world, around your locality, around your provinces, places? Nothing specific? Nothing worth to mention? Maybe. Let me rephrase my question. Uh, things होता है sir. That's how it is. चलता है, होता है, दुनिया है. What to talk about it? You became so philosophical already. That's okay. Yeah. I think Telangana government has given permission for online classes also. Earlier, they said it has to be purely offline, and High Court has put a stay on that yesterday. I don't know why this late hour decisions are made at the apex court, but still. So it's let's wait and watch. That's how I think the approach would be for us. So we'll continue with the same mode of coaching and interaction. There is no major fundamental change. Okay. And I think we got used to that as well. So let's go to chapter 1. Maybe to use public money on how?
Sir, they spend a lot of money in sanitizing and cleaning and everything, sir.
Okay. So under the name of that, to loot the money. That's what you're saying.
Yes, sir.
Systems are not that bad. Reasonably, there are people, especially. But what you said may be right also. So let us not be so pessimistic as well. Maybe they are thinking about the welfare of the students like us. How long we can be in four walled rooms, and how can we interact with the rest of our maybe that's the concern also, social skills and social abilities of sharing. But probably government or some of the oldies or boomers, they are not observing, or they are not understanding that we have various outlets of communication, which is Insta, Signal, whatever. In fact, I have seen, and I know some of my friends and their kids actually. Also, they use Insta like almost like a day-to-day running show. I don't know whether you do that or not. So like yeah, got up late today, brushed late today. Yeah, again boring breakfast by mom. Like that every second update. Do you do that anyone?
On Snapchat, sir.
Oh, Snapchat you do. Okay. See, platform maybe whatever, but the method of communication, so many outlets are there. Only thing is, the physical face to face warmth and all that may not be there, but otherwise, we are equipped with so many outlets to communicate. In fact, overwhelming numbers are there. Methods of communication in terms of tools, etc. So even online academia also is appreciating that, and we are reasonably okay in interaction. Only thing is from a visual standpoint, some of the organizations make it mandatory to switch on the video also, so that they capture the students and audience. Personally, I don't want to force, because we are professional students. You have your own choices. Some of you may, some of you may not like. So it's okay. But ultimately, the purpose has to be served. The concentration levels of grasping the knowledge, or maybe interaction of sorts, should be there. For kids in the sense, maybe kindergarten or maybe below 7th or 6th standard, they need to have certain attention because their attention span itself is very less. So to capture their attention span, I think videos are must for them. But for us, I think it's okay. It's our choice basically. We want to or we don't want to. It's up to us. Is what I feel. Yeah, that's why I don't force. In fact, we don't force. I think, even though as a suggestion we tell to have certain feeling of interaction by videos. That's okay. But otherwise, I think things are going okay for now. Let's see how it works. In fact, any one of you are scared to, scared in the sense to come out of the comfort of your rooms to institute, to attend classes? Scared in the sense, why to go out? I mean, this is comfortable. Any given time, in any position, we can attend the classes. We don't have to get into the traffic. We don't have to travel somewhere. I mean, anyone like that?
It's not about comfort, but then a lot of time will definitely get wasted in traveling, sir, and we also get stressed out after traveling, and we waste a lot of time after coming to home taking rest.
Yeah, that is
If
also
we're in
true.
home, it's like a lot of time is being used to study in that traveling time. I feel like that.
Yeah, especially again, I don't have to specifically talk about the course what we are pursuing here. The course itself is designed as a self-study course, is it not? Chartered accountancy course itself, compared to a BTech graduation in a campus or in a post graduation in a campus, law in a campus. This course itself, including CS and ICWA or CMA, these are all like self-study based courses. Self, more and more indulging at an individual level than a group activity. Okay, group activity is required to come to a location or institute for a social skill or social requirement. That means we are social animals. We need to see people. We need to. That's not required for academics of what we see. We don't have to do a common lab, for example. we don't have to go to a common activity like a project work or something. So this is all like solo. Our course is solo course. So probably this mode of coaching is apt in a way for us. But at the same time, all of us are not equally self-motivated. All of us are not analytical enough to understand our individual strengths and weaknesses and utilize the opportunities and minimize the threats. We have our own and also financial and other conditions, physical and other disturbances. So many other things are there. So I think that's how I feel. So for a chartered accountancy course, it's okay in a way, as long as there is a at least a virtual interaction rather only a recorded device in most of the cases. See, recorded sessions are also very important here because we can play back, especially the problem based subjects and any concept that we have to revise. So recorded and with all the equipment of video and presentation and on screen writing, etc. But from a theoretical or descriptive standpoint, I think the interaction should be through face to face virtually like this. So that's why we as champs we think we have adopted a hybrid model of course delivery and also interaction. So it's working okay. Yeah. Anyway, this is not a feedback session or something. So I just thought of, me, I kind of open my thoughts almost on every day. All right. Any other things before we get into strategic management chapter 1? Okay. Thanks for participation in the discussion there. I think this is where we have stopped the study. These are all the initial. Is the screen visible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Sorry. So, initial part of what is business policy, what is strategy, how strategic management has got into the organizational texture or organizational layers of management. So, to handle the uncertainty, to unravel the complexity. I mean, these are like technically reusable words, especially from a strategy standpoint or managerial standpoint. Just if you generally think about the strategic management from a military perspective, they use an acronym called, you can write it if you would like to, the acronym is called VUCA, VUCA. We have to handle any situation and from the VUCA perspective. What is V? Volatility. Any situation can be volatile. See, whatever we see in the business, in the external as well as internal, or from a military perspective, because strategy itself is military, right? I mean, tone, right? So how do they plan? How do they strategize to win the mission? Typically, they use this technique called VUCA, VUCA. V is volatility, U is uncertainty, C is complexity, A is ambiguity.
So could you repeat it again?
Yeah, I do. I will do that. VUCA. V is volatility. That means things are not stable. They are very dynamic. The plan what we made for a given situation, since the situational components or parameters in the situation change, the plan also has to change. So it has to be flexible enough to adjust. It cannot be fixed. So we will, within a short while in the same chapter, we'll look at from the business standpoint. A strategy, most of us think that it is a fixed strategy. Strategy means it is written on the rock with a metal, encryption. No, it is not. Strategy has to be flexible. So that's why volatility has to be handled. U is uncertainty. We would have seen the or we would have run for a mission to be accomplished with all the external and internal conditions, but suddenly an uncertain situation may happen. That could be a physical uncertainty, that could be a digital uncertainty, that could be a political uncertainty, and so on and so forth. So uncertainty and volatility, in a way, they differ. Volatility means how long the duration of a given state in the sense status of a situation. That's why interests are volatile, purposes are mostly stable, should be. I think I mentioned this every time. This is actually so-called personality development type discussion, but anyway. So volatility has to be understood and strategy has to be flexible enough for that. 2, uncertainty. Uncertainty is any situation can be uncertain. We go in a car, maybe Mercedes, but flat tire may happen any given time. And doesn't matter whether we own a 1 crore rupee car or whatever, still uncertainty is there on the road. Maybe suddenly the road got a block. Our value, the worth of the car is 0 at that time because we cannot cross that obstacle by using our 1 crore worth car. Just because I have a 1 crore worth car, for example, doesn't mean I can reach to the destination. Just because I'm intelligent doesn't mean that I am able to understand and plan the uncertainties. Just because I have a group of nuclear weapons, that doesn't mean that I can handle any uncertainty. If that is the case, that's exactly the case of Afghanistan, if you really look at it. So many, because the terrain itself is very uncertain. No one can conquer that. Initially, Britain tried that. Later, Russia tried it. USSR. Now, India. US has tried it. That's why India is very strategic in that because they know the uncertainty of the land from ages, including Shekuni and those times. That's why what India does, always to have a friendly relationship with that particular land and also the people in general, unless there is a drastic political change and thought, right? Now that's what probably may happen, but still, uncertainty. And then complexity. I think we know any system is complex. Any system has a various number of components. For example, human system is highly complex to handle any situation, especially in business. Highly complex. So many new players may come. So many unknown parameters may be there in the consumer's minds. So many drastic changes in the culture of the generations. So complexity is always increased. And finally, ambiguity. No matter how much of a strategic thought process we have, no matter how much of an analytical, statistical and analytical tools we use to understand the market and the consumers or customers, impossible to understand the ambiguity. Complexity is more and more volume-wise. Ambiguity is again unknownness, but still hazy situation. Most of the times, we as an individual, as well as a business, as well as military, need to handle this four. This is called a generic strategic model any military in the world uses. Similarly, that is used in businesses also. They don't mention it as it is, because businesses have their own pride, as if their strategic management is different than all of the others. All these business consultants and Gluik and Josh and all these guys, they started to analyze the management from the strategic perspective in their own terminologies. They use psychology in that, they use philosophical topics, they use military tactics and strategies in that. It's a huge subject. That's why as we grow in career as well as life, we will understand more and more we try to learn, then we realize the less and less we know. Personally speaking also, there are so many areas like this. So strategic management from the understanding and perception standpoint, we need to understand why is strategic management required for an organization to handle these things, because we are living in a VUCA world. Any given time, whether it is the ancient hunting based business also, or whether it was agricultural based or early ages of the humankind also, any given time, these four are coexisting, four factors, including now. The form may vary, but the substance is, that's why it is material. Theory of materiality applies here. See, all these concepts somewhere or the other are interrelated if you really look at. These subjects are not different. Okay, so that's what I wanted to just start the session with. Any strategic management has to handle, it cannot eliminate, because external ambiguities an internal organizational strategy cannot eliminate. It has to handle it. That's why it has to be flexible in terms of strategy. It has to be adaptable. It has to be, it has to lose sometimes its strategy also and define new things. It has to review itself. It has to be honest. Organization has to be honest enough to review its strategy, whether it is right or wrong. There is no ego required there. Only proprietary type of thoughts have egos. Organizations run based on egos. Why large corporate organizations are successful to become large and also global and multinational? Because those are not dependent purely on individuals and human egos. They handle the VUCA world from a strategic standpoint. Thanks to a recent example like Microsoft. Microsoft used to sell CDs of operating systems. Microsoft used to sell MS Office as a office related work related components like Excel, PowerPoint, etc. But then they have understood the world. World is moving a little further. World requires certain changes in virtualization. World requires to use grid computing. Oh, world requires cloud computing. Jump into that. Do you think Satya Nadella became just like that as a chairman there? No. For the vision, for handling the ambiguities of the market and complexities and etc., and driving the organization towards the new areas, boom. If you look at companies, organizations like General Electric, Walmart, I'm not saying those organizations are excellent in all the business strategy, because and personally, we are nowhere to even judge them. And that's not the purpose. But what we can understand is they have handled the situations, they have handled the external, internal, and a lot of other factors from multiple dimensions. It is not a single dimension or only a three-dimensional view, multiple dimensions. Of course, they used the technology from that angle. Of course, they used psychology from a consumer behavior standpoint. Of course, they used political through globalizing the international markets. Of course, they used money markets from handling the economic aspects. Look at the strategic way of conquering the world from a business standpoint. Earlier, it was more physical. Genghis Khan, my own will, my own power, my own gut, win the world. That's how they did. Alexander, they did that. Now companies don't need to do that. They may use the military might only to drop a nuclear bomb so that everyone is silent. Should be silent, but only as a warning or stopping signal. But more than that, these many dimensions and much more actually. At an external standpoint, they use. What about their internal management? That is the managerial aspect of strategy to be implemented at a corporate level inside, at a mid-level, which is a tactical or business strategies, at the bottommost, operational strategies, which we generally call as day-to-day task management related strategies. So that is the introduction of strategic management. Does it make sense? If you apply this superset of thought, most of the topics what we are going to go till 8th chapter, we will easily understand. Why there is a requirement of a change management in an organization? What is change management? To change from yesterday to today, the way we function, the way we try to execute the business, the way we enter into the market, the way we expand out. So whatever is a change. So first and foremost, strategic thought process, what the change management principles teach us is change is constant. If you look at mathematical equation, change is C, constant, y equal to mx plus c. C is constant. M may vary or x may vary, but C is constant, change is constant. Hence, delta x is always there. Yesterday is x, today is delta x. What is tomorrow's x? X plus delta x. Always the delta x changes. What is the change? Depending on technology, depending on pull. That's called flexible strategy. Is it not addressing the complexities of the business environments? Absolutely. Is it not strategy? Absolutely. So this is how we need to understand why strategic management is introduced to the organizations. Earlier, even now, a lot of organizations knowingly or unknowingly apply these strategies. They may not attend a session like this, or from a bugger like me, they don't listen to or they don't understand these topics, but they know this. Pure businessmen or women, for that matter, they apply these things based on the geographical conditions. Through their experiences, sometimes they are successful, sometimes they are not. But strategies, if you really look at any organization, a small street vendor also applies these strategies at subtle level. May not be the difference between Eastern philosophies and Western philosophies is Eastern philosophies go through people's minds. Those are not written, those are not documented in general. But Western philosophies, for them, everything has to be documented with dates, with incidents, with names, because they would like to follow the process. They would like to put the process in a square. Eastern philosophies, same with Eastern management techniques. We are not squarish thought process based generations, or we in the sense Eastern mode, what I'm talking about. Eastern, when I say East, the East to the world, or maybe we can understand the Far East and Eastern thought processes of the world. We mostly think philosophies in circles. That's the reason why all the topics are 99.99% topics in this book We are going to discuss about Western management techniques only. That's why whenever you see there would be a square with some quadrants. Everything has to be fixed somewhere. It cannot be generic. It cannot be hazy. It cannot be opaque. But Eastern philosophies and Eastern management styles are not like that. From one Marwari shop to other Marwari shop, the methods may vary. Fundamentals may be same, but methods may vary. But organizations mostly based on Western way of working towards business. As an example, I'm telling you, don't take again, Marwari is not directly reference to a community, it's a model of business I'm referring to. So, do they have strategic management? Absolutely they have, but they don't document it. That's not we don't document things here. Our Ayurveda, I mean, of course, now it is documented, but it goes from ages to ages. That's all. I'm not saying that is great or wrong, it is provable or not. That's again a separate debate. So everything has to be fixed in Western management. So similar way, I don't say same, but similar way, most of the concepts of strategic management, what we are going to learn, are going to be fixed to a squarish with 4 quadrants. Now you understand why entire way of looking at systems should be based on a square, because the boundary has to be fixed for Western management. It has to be defined, it has to be listed. So that's what we are studying in either in EAS or even here also. But are those used to expand the businesses globally? Absolutely. Because they can teach to the next generations in written formats, written documentation, written concepts like what we are learning now. So always there are pros and cons about it. But this is how the strategy has been included in the management circles over a period of time, right from Industrial Revolution mostly, especially from UK. Because that's where the initial, and Europe mostly, most of these philosophical thoughts have Western philosophical thoughts, what I mean is, or Western management techniques, they are originated from Europe initially. To me, my opinion, unfortunately, this book talks mostly about US. I think I mentioned this. Most of the management gurus from US only, because in the current materialistic measurements of the businesses, the size of the business is very important for us. We say that is big. The volume of the business is really important for us. What I would say, the geography coverage of a business is important, because these are the measurement criteria for the current business successes. What is a successful business now? These are the 3 major parameters. But Europeans, when they started their industrial revolution, they did not think about it. They thought about how to perfect the systems. They did not think about the sizes initially. Of course, later East India Company and some of the Dutch companies, they have conquered the world, including French, German to some extent, but not that much. And Spain, so many countries Spain has invaded with this might in industry, especially mining industry. So every country has their own strengths and weaknesses at that time, and the companies also. So like that. So strategies were introduced there, how to structure this. Can you believe 500 years back there was a joint stock company or group of joint stock companies in Europe? 600 years back. Still those companies are running in Netherlands, in Poland, oldest possible company format. Right now, what we have talked about, there must be ROC, there must be these many documents. 600 years back, it was invented by Europe. That's why they have tried to conquer the world by using the structured business model, rather unstructured business model of most of the Eastern kingdoms at that time. I think enough of history lesson, but still, why it is important for us to understand why strategic management has to be understood by us, because ICA is training us to get into the multinational corporations to go to certain level. So we need to be trained on their philosophical way of handling management first. This is how I understand strategic management, and I would like to explain from this basis, so that only by just remembering few words, just like that, we can complete. But I think my value addition in this subject would be to interpret why it has been. That's why in case of EIS, we never discussed about why. Again, I want to remind you, it was mostly about what and maybe a little bit of how. In strategic management, we have to think about why, because we are the owners, we are the strategists, we are the managers. I think I have repeated the concept again twice or thrice on this. Enough. I think now you got the point. So while you are understanding this, think like you are the owners. Again, I want to reiterate that fact. Don't just try to look at this as an academic subject only. Why? In the exam, when they ask a case-based question, case study-based or scenario-based question, you should, it's almost like in the Rajinikanth movie, right? Ganga became Chandramukhi type. You should become the owners of the company. You are the owners of, you have to solve that. You are the consultant there. And you are the part of the company. That's how you have to think. You have to transform. Otherwise, this subject is pure theoretical, tough to memorize. Why? Various different new concepts, etc. Okay. So I think I have spent enough time to explain the basis. If you understand, foundation of thought is really important to grow on that. Otherwise, we may grow very fast, but the foundation is weak. How to understand the growth? In this case, understanding itself will collapse. So now, strategy, there are multiple gurus. Igor Ansoff, we will come to this name again and again in this, because these are like stalwarts of management of the world. When we say world, mostly from US standpoint. Okay. Igor Ansoff, the name seems to be European, but he is based on US. So the common, what is strategy and definitions? You just read it, just for your reading purpose. Nothing to explain there. Basically, Ansoff talks always about, if you in third chapter or fourth chapter, if I recall. So Ansoff proposes a model called product market mix. How to develop the products, how to develop the markets. So Ansoff is nothing but related to products and markets. So that's how we can have a memory technique to remember. Okay. So, and Gluick talks about the overall integrated plan, much bigger strategies, etc., etc. And there is another guy called Josh, he will also be here in a little while. So, like, these are the management tools. The strategy is consciously considered and flexibly designed scheme of corporate intent. What is this intent? Have you heard about this word anytime? Let me stop sharing and again I'll come back within a while. Okay. I hope it is clear here. So what is this strategic or corporate intent? Can someone try to explain? What is intent here? Is intent profit? Corporate intent. Why corporates work? What is their intention to work? To establish, to expand, to introduce new products, to reach to customers, to market things. Why do they have to do it? Every corporate has their own intent. When we say corporate, even though we talk about corporate as if it is another human being, no. It is a group of human beings who started the corporate. And the group of human beings who own the roadmap of that organization, like vision of the organization, they decide the intent for that organization. At least in the initial stages. Later, the intents may vary. And it has to be, that's why strategy should be a flexibly designed scheme of corporate intent. How our corporate intent has to be executed. First of all, design the corporate intent, which is the purpose. If you ask me, that is a mission statement mostly. And then the roadmap for that, the vision for that, where we would like to be. This is Western management. Again, I would like to reiterate. So first they decide on the intent, what to be done, and then how to be done. Where do we need to reach to? That is vision. Vision is the end point. Mission is during it. Intent is the reason why we have to start. Simple. Why did you choose CA? I don't know. Intent. That why is intent. How to execute? Mostly breaking down the mission statements into objectives. How to reach there or where to reach? In fact, not how, but where to reach? Vision. That's how organizations typically work. And action to mobilize the resources, of course, what is available. To direct human effort and behavior. As of now, it is really important. Maybe in near future, human may not be required because mostly automated artificial intelligence tools may run the businesses. Very few interactions with human also may be required. But that's one of the, I don't say threats, but definitely the trends in corporate management. They can achieve a better result by eliminating the human interventions, by introducing artificial intelligence. Right now, that is a phase where we are living in. Whatever we call it as Internet of Things, or artificial intelligence, or machine learning. In EAS, we just glanced at it. Or deep learning, there is another concept that's not mentioned here, but currently in the market, that is number one. If you have any software engineering friends, tell them. And try to learn some of the concepts of deep learning and machine learning. Job guaranteed as of now for next one to 2 years. Why? Humans can be eliminated to a certain extent. Decision making also can happen through systems. But in general, organizations as of now, with the traditional way of looking at organizations, human effort and behavior is also important. So to handle events and problems, of course, to perceive and utilize opportunities, same thing, right? We discussed about the handling the complexities, and to meet challenges and threats for corporate survival and success. That's why doing business is not easy. Doing business is not monolithic. Doing businesses are, it's not fluke. I don't know how many of you really believe in that fate and all that. It is not just fateful. It is about handling these many external and internal circumstances and driving the organization towards the purpose or the intent or the place where we would like to be. That is vision. Pure theory, but I hope I'm clear about it so that we can translate whenever there is a question related to what is strategy. Various definitions, but this is I think this paragraph can definitely be noted as the comprehensive explanation of what is strategy. And further, few more angles of it is meant to fill the need of organization for sense of dynamic direction, focus, cohesive. These are all like corporate buzzwords. Okay, cohesiveness. Do you remember that in maybe physics? Cohesiveness, where the particles and molecules are cohesive. Their valency, if you remember, valency should be similar so that they can be cohesive. Water is actually not a metal. It is a liquid, and all the individual liquid particles are cohesive to each other. That's the reason why it is together. So, like that, organization should be cohesive. Focus should be there. Objectives and goals are essential, and etc. But they do not fill the need alone. Basically, only objectives cannot. See, I want to do this. I have to do this. I will do this. Not enough. How to do that? Execution is also important. So strategy provides an integrated framework. Again, top management to search for, evaluate, exploit. It's the same thing in different words. I'm not going to read that again. So important to note, strategy is no substitute for sound, alert, and responsible management. If we have a great strategy, but very poor management of the strategy execution, waste. Great intellectuals, they want to achieve so many, not materially, probably according to their intellectuality, this has to be done, that has to be done. Do you think without execution it will happen if we sleep? if we don't execute things on time? Just because of our intellectuality, just because of our vision, things get, we reach there. We have to work towards it. We have to align the forces towards it. We cannot dilute our mission just by giving a strategy and sleeping or doing something else. Wherever applicable, we can apply this. That's how strategy has to be understood. The organizations, when I say successful, I'm not measuring the success in terms of money and size and all that. Success is actually defined either for individual or for an organization when we have executed our plans to achieve what we defined. Simple. Some of us may define, I have to cross the road successfully. That's mean that is a success for that moment. Again, the road example is very simple, it looks like, but it has so many complex angles to analyze. What is success? Success is we have achieved with the given structure of execution what we wanted to intend. The intent has been executed. That is success, whatever success it is. For a murderer, probably successfully killing someone is a success. I mean, I'm not saying it is a legally accepted thing. Legality is different, morality is different, ethics are different. But from a success standpoint, organization-wise, some organizations may say we have to be number one in the world by 2030. By hook or crook is maybe in the bracket, parenthesis. Then by hook or crook doesn't mean ethically they will do things. So that's why the ethics and all that are separate. Needed or not needed is a separate discussion. Organizational management has to be focused towards success. What is success? Reach to what you have desired for. Simple. That's why I want to climb Everest by the end of this month. Do you think that goal is possible to be conquered? No. Why? Because it requires certain minimum financial resources. Probably I may not have it. In fact, I don't. The physical strength, training, maybe through training for some time I may get it. Reasonably I'm fit, but still may not be enough. So separate training for it takes maybe 6 months. So 1 month target, impossible to. So the targets what we keep, the goals what we keep, the objectives what we keep should be realistic. That's where we will discuss in when we have goals and objectives as a strategy. So those things have to be. So that's why just by keeping the strategic intent, we don't go anywhere. We can eat, we can sleep, drink and sleep. We will be where we are, lesser than snail pace as an organization. Sometimes, because there is a sound strategy in 5th chapter, we'll look at it. Sound strategy may give some life extension only as a company. But if the execution is bad, if the strategy is not actually executed according to the intent, slow death happens to the company, or it will limp for a long time. That's not success. That's not why organization wanted to be established for. So like that, we have to look at. Okay. So again, transform yourselves to the owners of organizations. You are the company owners now. So think from that angle. If any one of you are from business families, probably you can discuss few of these things with your, if at all, your parents, if they talk to you about this, you can ask them, what is your intent of running this business? I'm not questioning you, but I want to know. You know that. Are you successful in that? If not, what else? So from a strategic standpoint, you can understand the perspectives. Okay. So it must be recognized that strategy can never be perfect. Flawless and optimal. Never, ever, ever. It has to be flexible. That itself shows strategy has to be ready to be modified occasionally. Strategy is not written on a stone wall, but it cannot be only on a sand of a beach in an ocean also. It has to have flexibility. The elasticity in metallurgy, there are a couple of, in physics also you have studied, I don't know whether you remember. It is called malleability and ductility. A strategy has to be malleable, meaning easily, not so easily, but we have to bend it. We have to extend it. Elasticity we use as a word. It has to be scalable as well as reducible. Sometimes we may have to discard a strategy what we have taken earlier. But for that, we need to be clear on the intent. That's why organizations who run on egos, they don't work. Because, or they may work also, but there is no clear definition for that. That's what I would like to say. So it must be recognized that strategy can never be perfect, flawless, and optimal. So it is the very nature of strategy that it is flexible and pragmatic. Have you heard this word anytime? This is a philosophical concept. Pragmatism means accepting the situation as it is and trying to analyze instead of our own imagination. Pragmatism means practical way of understanding, which is very tough because already we have our baggage inside psychologically, our brought up DNA, our family, upbringing, education, so many things are there inside. How can we be pragmatic to a situation? But that is what is Western way of looking at it. It has to be pragmatic. This is a psychological aspect introduced by a German psychologist, and that has been applied in management for a long time. To take care of sudden emergencies, pressures, avoid failures and frustrations in business also. So in a sound strategy, allowances are made for possible miscalculations and unanticipated events. Don't think that every strategy any given time is successful. It is impossible. A strategy cannot be always effective. A strategy, why? Because environmental changes may happen. VUCA, world is there. We have to deal with it. The uncertainty may be much bigger than the way we can handle it. Physical uncertainties like tsunamis, for example. We have built an insurance company. We have done business in Indonesia for almost 20 years. We know there is a risk of tsunamis there, but never came there for past 200 years. So with the past data, we have analyzed that it is okay to have property insurance, etc., etc. Suddenly tsunami came. And we have to repay the claims of thousands and maybe millions of people, homeless people, because tsunami has broken down their homes, and those houses are insured with us. As an insurance company, our strategy failed there. But can we really do anything about it? Possible miscalculations may be there. This example, what I told, a lot of insurance companies were bankrupt because of tsunami. Then they have started, of course, their internal strategies of reinsurance, etc., also did not work. Then later, this is the lessons learned, how our future strategy should be. So there are some new clauses, probably act of God, etc. Oh my God movie, if you remember. Yeah, movie, yes. Without movie, I cannot. So like that, miscalculations and unanticipated events. This is physical. Something may be more, the senior most person of the organization may resign suddenly because of a person, or maybe something happens to the person. We cannot close the business. There must be a succession plan. So strategies always have to have plans around it to be flexible. That's what this particular aspect shows. And that has to be at 3 different levels in organization. This is the Western way of breaking down the structure at a broader level in the organization. One is called corporate level, topmost. It's like 3-tier architecture, if you remember. 3 layers. Shiva. Corporate, divisional, functional. Functional means operational, day to day on different functions, marketing, sales, etc. Divisional or business, different divisions based on geography, based on products, based on customers sometimes. So this division is only for old customers. SBI has started in Jubilee Hills Center. If you ask me, Jubilee Hills, what do you call, corner of the LV Prasad Road in Hyderabad. SBI has started its banking only for Generation Z. There are no people inside. It's only systems. So you can just go there and do banking there. You can just browse your account details, if at all. Of course, they don't have to command. You can apply for, and there are some artificial intelligence tools they have introduced into the machines. No human interaction. So specifically targeted. So there's a division, or agricultural division based on the products, home loans division based on the products. Our geography, LIC is divided into locations, South region, North region, railways, Indian railways are into divisions. So that is at the middle level. Within a division, again, functions would be there. What are functions? Sales, marketing, HR, finance, like us. Within finance, again, auditing, accounting. Within that, again, this is how the structures are. And the topmost is corporate, who decide the fate of the company in terms of strategy. That's what is corporate strategies are by top managers, etc., etc. So varieties of things. These are too early to think about what these things are. Such strategies may be at the topmost for expansion and growth. Okay, let us acquire Facebook. Sorry, WhatsApp. Facebook has decided. Do you think Facebook India in Hyderabad has decided to acquire WhatsApp? That's after all a division for Facebook, right? Who has decided that? Corporate level? Could be board of directors, including the managing director and chairman, and key stakeholders where who has majority share. So shareholders also, some of them may be included in the decision. Topmost decisions are made at, that's why more and more visibility from the top. Think about eagle. When the eagle goes up, it can have more coverage to cover, to view. If we are standing and looking up, how much can we cover? Only maybe 270 degree, or maybe sometimes we cannot look at the back anyway. But the area what we can cover on the sky, very limited. But if we go up and see down, huge coverage. That is called responsibility. Why people I mean, why do they want to grow in the ladder of corporate? Why do they want to become CEOs and CFOs and all? Because the coverage of ownership is more. Corporate strategies, because they can decide the fate of an organization. They can decide how the mission can be established or the vision has to be established. They are the people at the top. Corporate strategies, and they may have some vertical, horizontal integration, diversification. We'll talk about these things as we go on. Don't get overwhelmed with these names. What are these? Too early to discuss, because these are all explained in further chapters. Takeovers and mergers, I think we know this anyway. New investment and divestment areas. Divestment. What is we would have heard about it nowadays by central government. We are disinvesting and divesting our money to other areas. Government is not going to do business. We'll sell off everything. So divestment sometimes is required for organizations. Disinvestment and divestment are mostly similar, but minor difference. We'll talk about it later. And R&D projects and so on and so forth. So the corporate-wide strategies need to be operationalized by divisional and functional strategies. These are, like I said, strategic terminology. What is this operationalized means? To be put into execution. What is operation? Day-to-day execution. Hence, these words are, see, if you can write these words in the exam, naturally the examiner's eye would catch this. They know that we have read, we have studied this properly, thoroughly. So operationalizing how can we execute these strategies from corporate level to bottom by mid-level divisional structure? Based on that, like I said, geographies, our products, our customer groups, etc., etc. And then bottommost, functional levels. When we are talking about ERP, we discussed about various functions of an organization and how they can be integrated. When we discussed about MIS, all these functions will have one source of truth by having a common database in ERP, which can produce reports. Historic reports are produced by data warehouses. Day-to-day reports can be extracted from databases. That's how MIS, Management Information Systems, can operate. Now you can relate this. Who uses the MIS things at a divisional management level? Of course, at an operational management level, also within their function. Within sales, sales management would be there. Within marketing, marketing management would be there. But those are all still functional management only. On top of them, divisional management. On top of them, corporate management. It's a 3-layered structure. I hope you understand and appreciate this. This is the method to understand any organization for that matter. Smallest company like a idli vada seller at the end of the road, 4-star. All these functions are done by only one person, or maybe a wife or a daughter or a son or whatever the family is, or maybe one helper. As the organization grows, these layers will be more and more critical. This is how organizations should grow, ideally. Everything is not cluttered with only, then it becomes more proprietary way of execution. In the feudal mentality or feudal execution, all the decision-making power would be at one person or maybe one group. That's why if you understand, even though the organizations are being executed professionally, but corporate strategies in India for most of the multinational companies are still handled by families. Execution is more professional, just like Western model of strategies of divisional structures, functional structures. Those things are all okay, but corporate is in the hands of few families only. Only they decide what to be done. Godrej, Reliance, Tata is a little exception, but still most of the Tata Sons and Group, Tata Group and Sons, still a lot of close relations, close like that. Adani, we don't have to talk about it. Mittal, Jindal, Bajaj, Mahindra, I can go on and on. Or Murugappa Group in South, Reddy Laboratories. These are all professional companies. These are all corporates. But the Indian way of corporatization is the corporate layer of strategies are generally in the hands of families. Simple. Okay. But still, the execution, divisional level or next level and functional level, very professional. There's a difference between these companies and others. Tata Group, Tata Consultancy Services, as an individual, no, it is not handled by families only. Infosys, long time, earlier it was like that, but later slowly, it has become more professional, more corporate based. Wipro, even now it is handled by a group of close-knit family members only. But execution happens more professionally in corporate model, like that. If you look at organizations wise, we can understand the organizations like that. KPMG, no one knows who is the owner of it. Why? It is pure corporate organization. L&T, greatest example for true corporate, no owner at all. Group of board of directors run the company. There is no family. When I say owner, family, there is no family. Because Larsen and Toubro both are different from Denmark, and they started a company in India. And now they didn't want any of their family members to own this. So out. Board of directors decided. That's true corporate nature. Okay. I hope I have explained in much detail here. So who decides at a lower level both the divisional and functional strategies? Those are really important. We are going to be, let us say, auditors. Which layer of this organization will enter into the, for example, okay, letter auditors and all, articleship. Which layer do we enter into? Can someone guess? We are articleship students. There are 3 layers of any general professional organizations or corporate organizations. Where do we enter? Functional, okay. Mid-level, wow. Okay. We are at a, if there is a word called, -2 or -3 level, that's where we end up as a article student. As an article student, most of the times we are not even functional level at the finance as a function. It is a sub-function of finance in audit group. If within that a sub-function, probably at a entry level, that means -1 or -2 level. I think my neighbor Harley Davidson again. Can you hear that engine revving voice or noise? Sorry.
Yes, sir.
So occasionally, I think they have to restart. I mean, these days because of COVID or whatever, general utilization has come down, so it's part of their maintenance, I think. Okay. Mostly we will enter at the sub-functional level. Then what is growth? Probably to enter into different levels. That's how we can, I mean, from a career standpoint, anyway, this is too early to discuss about it. But to understand the organization structure, I have explained in detail. We are not, even after completion of chartered accountancy, most of us would be at a functional level, that too at a sub-functional level, like audit, etc., only. We are not going to be at a finance level, right? We are a sub-function of finance. Let us say we are going to do tax work. It is a sub-function of finance. Mergers and acquisition, reasonably okay at the functional and above level, because even in mergers and acquisitions, we will be focusing on financial matters only. So that is at least at a functional level to a certain extent. So design your career accordingly is my suggestion. Simple. Okay. Of course, do we have a choice always? An articleship we may not have, but later our knowledge will take us to that. That's the difference between just a qualification and qualification plus knowledge. That's the difference. And CHAMPS, most of the successful chartered accountants that were produced out of CHAMPS, they have realized it during the course itself, and they have definitely reached to those. I think at a divisional level and functional also at a managerial aspects and all that. They own a lot of accountabilities now. Whenever we meet them, we are really happy. Why? Because they're not settling down only for some general activity-based work only. Okay. I hope you also shape up accordingly. But that is a time out for now. Let us focus on passing the exam first with knowledge. So production volumes, quality ranges, prices, product promotion, how to do that, market penetration. These are all marketing things. Purchasing sources, meaning procurement, personal development, HR, like that. Varieties of functions. Yeah. Strategy is partly proactive and partly reactive. Is it not? Just now we have mentioned earlier. Strategy is not written on the stone wall. Strategy has to be reasonably flexible. What are those? It's a blend of proactive actions. What is pro-action? Prior to the activity happens. That is generally we call it as planning. We generally mistake. Strategy means planning. No, planning is before the activity happens, before the incident happens. That is planning. But strategy is not always just planning. It is not always only pro-action, proactivity, planning. No, it is not. So, for example, proactive actions should be there. That is a part of company strategy. One more thing is reactions to unanticipated developments also. Again, crossing the road. We have planned how to cross the road, but suddenly there is a two-wheeler who seems to be like, they want to prove something in front of us. Suddenly they came with a high speed. Did we react to that or not? We did. How did we react is a separate case. What type of involuntary reflexes we had based on our presence of mind and also the spinal cord activity, etc., etc. That is biological, but still strategic standpoint, it is a reactive strategy. Reactive strategy where we reacted to an unanticipated development. Same with organizations. Suddenly there is a change. Suddenly there is a competitor that is going away from the market. Should we react to that, or did we plan for that long back? Always, all of the things we cannot plan proactively. So, proactive planning, reactive response, we call it as. Reactive response. So, fresh market conditions, dynamic business environment, a lot of things changes. And then there is one more thing called abandoned strategy also, if you look at. Sometimes our earlier strategy may not be relevant for the current circumstances. The earlier strategy, we would have what I would say, surpassed it, or maybe it is not relevant anymore. It became obsolete. It became irrelevant. Still, we are clinging to that as if our ego has to be there with that. Since I planned it, I have to work like that only. The old attitude, probably. It cannot work in a real world. So we have to be flexible enough to abandon some of the strategies also. This is how a company's actual strategy would be. In an exam, a couple of times this was asked for 2 marks or 3 marks question as the first question, which is compulsory question. So abandoned strategy also is part of it. So company experiences, know-how, resource strengths, these are all our current organizational internal strengths and weaknesses also, probably. Based on that, strategy can be planned. Based on that, some reactions also may be planned, are not planned but executed. Responses. It's not a complex subject here, but 3 angles of strategy. Why it is explained again and again? Most of us subconsciously think strategy means planning. No. Strategy includes planning. Strategy includes reactive response. Strategy includes abandoning the original planning also. 3 areas. Then the actual company strategy emerges. All this is explanation of the same. Biggest portion of the company's current strategy from previously initiated actions and business approaches, etc., newly launched managerial activities. So this part of management's game plan is deliberate and proactive. Initially, we planned everything, how the resources should be trained. Initially, we thought this is how the technology would be. Suddenly, there is a new technology that we need to train ourselves. We need to respond to that. That's called reactive strategy. Earlier, we planned something, but now it is not relevant anymore. We need to abandon that. Oh, initially, budget is allocated only 1 crore to your department or function. You are requesting for more. Yeah, because there are changes in the strategy. Some old strategies have to be taken out. For the new training part, new investments are required, hence we are requesting. That is how the evaluation of the strategy happens at the top, at the board of directors level, ideally. Same thing is explained here. Not every strategic move is the result of proactive planning. Things happen that cannot be fully anticipated. We cannot know everything. I mean, no human being can know everything what may happen, right? Even spiritually also, we can anticipate sometimes because of our experiences and wisdom, but things cannot be planned always. So when market and competitive conditions take unexpected turn, definitely some kind of strategic reaction or adjustment is required. So that's why portion of a company's strategy is always developed as a reasoned response to unforeseen developments. That particular portion should be always flexible. The core value should not change. Value why an organization is running or established, that cannot change. But strategic response has to change to the market changes or complexities. That particular portion has to be always flexible. Not the core values, not the core intent, not the core ethics and morals of the organization. Those are constant generally. If that is also changed, then there is no point of having an intent to run the company. That some companies work like that. Flexibly, they change over a period of time. 20 years back, it was like that. 30 years back or 20 years later, the core management has changed and the ownership has changed and culture also may change totally. Values may change. Customer satisfaction was the initial value where we started. Now only profit, only profit, only profit. That could be possible. Is it right? Wrong is a separate ethical and moral question. But according to the strategy, it has to be implemented. So flexibility should be a part of strategy. And then crafting a strategy, it involves a proactive, intended strategy based on prior successful experience and then adapting pieces of successful reactions also. And then it has to have an abandoned strategy also. They did not explain much about that here, but we may have to discard the earlier strategies also. Any questions on this diagram or this concept? Okay. Pretty fair and simple, but still we need to get used to the jargon, like I said, the management terminology. This abandoning strategy, reactive strategy, proactive strategy, underline, write, read it out loud. Then you will have audio memory there. Otherwise, these things seem to be very simple to understand. It's not a big deal. But to reproduce it, it requires practice. Okay. And what is strategic management? In case of any questions, anyone? Okay. Then some more explanation about strategic management. Basically, strategy also has to be managed. It cannot be haphazard. That's why strategic management came into picture. What is strategic management? To put all these perspectives in sequence in a structured manner instead of an individual heroic manner. Some organizations may be so successful because of their bosses, because of their some key personnel, meaning human resources or employees, but they don't follow a process. Everything is unpredictable, but still they may be successful. That's a separate case. But Western philosophy never works like that. It has to be, success also should be predicted using a structure. So then naturally, any of these things should be within the managerial grid, managerial quadrant approach. It has to follow a structure. Why? Basically, this is not the US or Europe. It is long back Romans used it. For everything, there is a structure. If you observe any of the old movies like Gladiator or any of the Roman related, Italian related movies, old movies, look at their military formations. Look at their, everything is a structure. Everything is managed. Everything is planned or maybe reacted, but still it follows a structure. You see the movie like 300. Have you seen that movie? Anyone? 300. No? That's okay. It is actually a fictional story, but nicely depicted. Basically, it talks about 300 warriors stopping Persian military or Persian soldiers long back. These warriors are Spartans because the race itself is warrior race. So, if you look at in the movie, of course, the fact is not depicted accurately. Most of the times, for that matter, why all that, the movie and all that, Bahubali, of course, that is copied from 300 planning only. What do? They plan, they strategize how and who should be placed there before the war starts. In that movie, did Rajamouli, the director or whoever has written the story and script, did they mention the same for those barbarians also? Did they plan? Did they strategize? Did they show that plan or a strategy? They were shown as barbarians, Kalakeya or something like that. They have varieties of weapons. They just run, they just try to run over. But the sophisticated armies of Mahishmati, where Bahubalis and these guys are there, they have some formational plans, how to form, who has to go where, what to be used, when to be used, planning. Why? Management. Strategy also has to be managed. That's the difference between probably Kalakeyas or the barbarians may or would have won it. Of course, it's a movie, they will never win. But in real world, they would have won it. But it was an accident to win. It was not structural win. Organizations cannot accidentally be successful. They may, but that may change within a short while because of a change in the environment. A new parameter may change it. Hence, strategic management is a subject of study. That's what is explained here. It's a hyper-competitive marketplace. Definitely, companies can operate successfully by creating and developing or delivering superior value to target customers and also learn how to adapt to a continuously changing business environment. With a structure, it is relatively easier for organizations to pinpoint where the internal weaknesses are, utilize the threats in the market for their advantage, or move further to minimize the threats to the capacity what they have, or by reacting to that particular threat with a different strategy. Possibilities would be there. So to meet the changing conditions, companies need to be far-sighted and visionary. They have to look further, beyond certain time, and vision. That's why those are visionary people, visionary organizations. Must develop long-term strategies. That's why topmost strategies are always long-term. Strategic planning is an important component of strategic management. It involves developing a strategy to meet competition and ensure long-term survival and growth of the company. What is competition? Opponent. In case of war, it is enemy. In case of organizations, it is opponent. Who is an opponent for our company? Companies and companies are not opponents. Products of our company to a product of that company which are competitive are opponents. Antur Soap and Lux are opponents. Not Wipro and HUL, Hindustan Unilever. Those are not opponents. Company to company, those are not opponents. Product to product, vertical to vertical, business to business, market to market. That's how competitors are to be conquered. Strategy is for what? To win. Strategy in business is for what? To win over the customers. For what? In the given market. What is a market? Group of customers where products, multiple products are fighting to win the products and win the customers. Market is not population. Population is everywhere. But all the population may not be my market. Chartered accountancy students who are going to pursue chartered accountancy group 1 and 2 as CA Inter would be the customers or the market for the coaching centers. Not everyone in the population. So strategies have to be accordingly. If you want to ask me, very relevant way to understand. So strategies are not for population. Strategies are for customers and competitors. Who are competitors? Fighting for the same customer to be acquired. That is how strategy has to be understood. So to meet the competition and ensure long-term survival, it is not short-termistic. It should be long-termistic. Organization's first and foremost priority is to survive. Then, so many other things come into picture. To survive also, we require the customer satisfaction as the highest priority. Any organization. So that's how it has to work. The overall objectives of strategic management: to create competitive advantage. You have to underline this because this is the basic requirement for strategic management. The entire 8 chapters what we are going to read and study would be based on this philosophy, this concept. What is that? Don't think philosophy means old people's thought and all. Philosophy means whatever we are learning, the perspective of it is philosophy. This is strategic management's philosophy that we have to understand first. What is that? Why a strategic management is important? Number one, to create competitive advantage for our organization. What is competition? To win the customers from opponents. When two or more companies or organizations are fighting for the same group of customers or markets, competition is defined. Why Britishers, French, Dutch and Portuguese were fighting together for India at that time? It's a competition to win Indian market, Indian resources. And finally, three of them were defeated. British took the supremacy. In some other African countries, Dutch has taken the supremacy. Nigeria, for example, British were defeated there by Holland. Some other countries like Vietnam, French has taken the supremacy. Some other countries like Poland, Germany has taken the supremacy. Competition formula was different at that time. Countries were representing the entire structure of the country and businesses, etc. But now companies are competing for customers. That too not in their local markets, but global. That is globalization. Fair competition is what they say in globalization. What is that? Simple. If you have the competitive spirit and strategy, win over me and get the customer to your fold. Simple. So competitive advantage should be created by strategic management. Otherwise, there is no use of strategic management. Then to guide the company successfully through all challenges in the environment, that is to react in the right manner. So competition, to win the competition is number one. And then we should be flexible enough to handle uncertainties. The VUCA world we need to win in the organizational perspective. That's why strategic management, the structure of strategic management is designed as a science and art, as a part of managerial subject. That's what we are studying. So organizational operations are highly influenced and by increasing rate of change in the environment. These are all varieties of concepts, or not concepts actually, vocabulary explaining the same thing, which is complexity of the environment, which is dynamic changes, rate of change in the environment. Changes can be external to the firm or may be introduced in the firm by the managers, also is possible. The way we execute may change, that is internal managerial issue. So it may manifest in the blurring of the industry and firm boundaries driven by technology deregulation through globalization. So many things happen. That is the PESTLE analysis we did in the foundation, if you remember, PESTLE, the macro analysis, political, economic related stuff, scientific, social and cultural, technological, any changes can happen. So put the concept on a few words on the explanation, you can just read it. Strategic vision, setting objectives, crafting a strategy, etc., etc. And this process does not end, it keeps going in a cyclic manner. Strategic management goes again and again, it's a refinement. When Toyota has defined its strategy in 1960s, they would have changed it by 1980s. They would have changed it by 2000s. They would have strategy changes. Old things are abandoned. Reactive strategies are accepted and adopted. Proactive strategies are planned. That's why they became globally recognized brands. Just like that they did not. So strategic management involves developing company's vision, environmental scanning, strategic formulation, strategy implementation. These are different stages. First, develop a vision. 2, look at the world, environment and markets, how those are, how competitors are. 3, formulate a strategy accordingly. 4, implement the strategy. 5, evaluate and control. Control is nothing but reports of what? Our performance. We have designed these strategies and goals. Did we reach them or not, to them or not? Evaluation and control. That's where probably we will end up as chartered accountants, because all our reports, balance sheet is what? A control report. Cash flow statement is what? A control report. The end of the strategic implementation is where we generally enter. Then what is growing in the organization to go there at the formulation level itself, strategic formulation level itself. Who forms the strategies? Corporate. Who evaluates them? Mostly at the bottommost layer of functional level. Now you understand how our growth will happen during the chartered accountancy course also. By final, we will be more and more at a strategic financial management discussions and all that also. See, inter we are studying financial management ratios, etc., how to interpret. But later in final, we will look at what type of or why should we invest in these areas? What are the investment options? For example, more at a financial level. But still, overall, we are still at an operational mode of learning. That's how we have to grow up further. So, originally called business policy, earlier they used to call it as strategic management's earlier name was business policy, but now it emphasizes the monitoring and evaluation of external, again, same thing, right? External opportunities and threats. By the way, this entire textbook, this concept is going to be repeated again and again. Analyzing the opportunities and threats, utilizing the strengths and maximizing or minimizing the weaknesses. Basically, SWOT analysis in different terminologies we are going to do. Again, for the survival and growth of the company. So we'll put a stop here as we move further. Probably tomorrow we'll try to get into the end of this chapter. This is a very small chapter if you ask me. Even though it looks like 28 page and all that, I think it stops at maybe next 5-10 pages. So what is strategic management? We are going to discuss at length, and limitations, etc. Different strategic levels we already discussed about it. So we'll go through that. Some examples are given. You know it already. Through examples we discussed on that. And certain diagrams and all that. We'll see how it works. We don't have to rush on that. And what is the strategic management in government and not-for-profit organizations? How does it work? A brief, same thing happens there also, but brief introduction. That's all. Okay. So today, let us put a stop there. Any questions? You're all listening to this, probably you're all trying to follow and understand. I agree. Again, I just want to reiterate. Reproduction of this terminology is the most important thing in the exam. It does not come only through your listening skills. It has to be written in your paper somewhere in a book. Just by underlining it and memorizing it or understanding it itself is not enough. Most of the folks flunk in strategic management when the appropriate words are not being used in the exam. So your focus has to be, of course, on the concept and understanding. 2, utilizing the terminology in the exam answers, basically. So focus on that while you are preparing. Okay, that's a tip I would like to give. Any questions? No. All right. Then I will leave the rest of the day with you and have a good day. And we'll meet up again tomorrow. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, sir.